To this point, we've been focusing on how to engage well in the midst of a conversation. But actually, so much of the ultimate impact of our conversations comes not in the conversation itself, but what we do with it afterwards. If I handed you a $100 bill right now, I bet there is a very low probability that you would just leave it lying around somewhere and quickly lose it. Well, when someone entrusts us with something personal and significant about their life, how much is that worth to us? If we've had a good conversation with someone, they've very vulnerably trusted us with information about themselves, the names of family members, possibly information about the struggles they're facing, that a relative is ill, a hope, a dream, a frustration, and those are valuable gifts. And so we need to take care of them and not just toss them in the bin on our way out the door. Are we trustworthy with the information that has been entrusted to us? Do we care enough about people to remember it and to reflect on it and to pray about it so that we can be prepared to take the next step in conversation and relationship the next time we see them, rather than awkwardly being afraid to bring up anything because we just can't remember what we spoke about the last time or what we're supposed to already know? Vince doesn't trust himself to remember all the important things about all the people that he has multiple conversations with, so he actually devotes a Microsoft Word file to people as a way of extending his memory. Now, I'll admit that when I first found out about this, I thought it was a little bit creepy. But as Vince pointed out, it's totally normal, even expected, for me to file notes on complete strangers that I study academically. So why not on living people that I actually am going to interact with again? Or how is it okay for Vince to have an app that records the batting average of every player on the New York Yankees to 0.1%, as well as all sorts of other random facts about their lives, and yet we often can't remember the names of our good friends' siblings? It's actually pretty pathetic, isn't it? Why is it okay for us to do so much research and study and to know so much about historical figures or professional athletes or entertainment celebrities, but so little about the people we've actually met? Now, oddly, we don't think it's weird to plan in detail for an interaction with someone if it's for a special occasion like their birthday, or if we're taking them out on a date. We praise this sort of preparation. Why? Because it shows people that we value them. But then why should this be any different with normal conversation? Why should we restrict this sort of serious intentionality just to special occasions? Every time we know we're going to have the privilege of interacting with someone created by God in His image, loved by Him, is that not a special occasion? A friend of mine often says that poor administration is poor pastoral care. Felt like a knife the first time I heard her say that. But when someone tells you something, they have given you permission to remember it. So being organized enough to do so, as long as you're careful about issues of confidentiality, that's actually a way of valuing them. And it means the next time I see someone, I can have a read through my notes and be better prepared for a good conversation. And I can show them that I care about them by putting in the effort to remember the things about them and to pray for specific things that are going on in their lives. Vince actually had a file on me when we were dating. It was 34 pages long, and he gave it to me before we got married as a gift. I guess that's the test, isn't it? Would the person be encouraged to see their file when they actually read it? I was encouraged overall. I'll admit I started out dubious about keeping files on people, but I was won over a number of years back when a girl came up to me at church one day and she asked if we could meet up for coffee. And once she did, she shared some deeply vulnerable and personal issues about how she was struggling with certain things in her life. And, I was really honored that she trusted me with that information, but I was also confused because she was a new student and we'd only met twice before. So I asked her, why me? And then she told me that it was because the second time that I saw her, I remembered her name. But the only reason that I had remembered her name was because the week before was the Sunday for incoming freshmen, and I was meeting so many new people that Vince reminded me to write a list of all their names on my phone, and so I just checked that list on the way into church the following week. It was such a small thing, but for her it was really big, and it led to a really significant conversation. It doesn't take much to help people feel seen and loved. And just one more point about being good stewards of conversation. Often this will mean looking to extend the conversation, especially if it was heading in a meaningful direction, but you had time constraints like being in an Uber or getting a haircut, or they just needed to get to their next meeting. And doing so, extending that conversation, it can be as easy as saying, I really enjoyed chatting with you today. Maybe we can talk some more sometime. Do you have an email address I can reach you at, or are you on Facebook? People are very willing to give social media details or their email addresses, even if they're a little more hesitant with phone numbers. In fact, in all the years that we've been intentional about conversations, we don't remember ever having someone turn down a request for an email address. And once you have it, you can set up a meeting for further conversation. And this actually works really well because the person will then know that you want to continue the previous conversation. And so not only is their agreement to meet a sign that they're open to continuing where you left off, but they'll also have given it some extra thought in preparation, which means that the next meeting often leads to a deeper and more substantive conversation than where you got to last time. And of course, in the meantime, you yourself can be praying and asking God to guide the conversation wherever He desires for it to go next. I invite you to do that very thing just now, to take some time out to think through some of the meaningful conversations that you've recently had, and to ask God to give you creative ideas for how to steward those conversations well, and what a meaningful and positive next step might look like in that relationship.